The ratings are in for this week's edition of AEW Dynamite on TBS, as well as the ratings for WWE NXT on the CW. Mustafa Ali returns to TNA and announces he has signed with the company on last night's special live episode of TNA Impact. Matt Cardona also returns to TNA. John Layfield once again appears during an episode of Impact, this time hitting a clothesline from hell on Matt Cardona in the main event. Mance Warner is revealed to be the man behind the Mystery 23 vignettes, whilst Steph DeLander is accompanying him, and she is the brand new TNA Digital Media Champion. Josh Alexander explains his decision to quit TNA Wrestling on TNA Impact Live. NXT superstar Cora Jade once again appears on TNA programming. Tully Blanchard is shown in the crowd during Tessa Blanchard's promo last night. Wesley and other NXT superstars appear on TNA Impact Live. Several matches have been announced for next week's episode of TNA Impact. More details on WWE's scrapped plans for Alexa Bliss's return to WWE television and why that actually did not take place. WWE Hall of Famer Nikki Bella reportedly is in talks for a return to in-ring competition in WWE. Jesse Ventura confirms he will be in attendance this weekend for Saturday night's main event. An update on Crazy Steve's TNA status after he competed in a dark match prior to AEW Dynamite this week. And a big title match has been confirmed for AEW Collision tomorrow night. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's begin with the ratings for this week's edition of AEW Dynamite on TBS. Now, Wednesday night's episode of AEW Dynamite averaged 655,000 viewers on TBS, which is down 3.5% from last week. It's still the second highest viewership total for the show since November 13th. Dynamite drew a 0.19 rating in the 18-49 demo. That's up 5.6% from last week and ties the best rating the show has done in that category since the November 20 episode. The show went head-to-head with an NBA game on ESPN that topped the cable charts with a 0.37 rating in the 18-49 and averaged 1.172 million viewers overall. Of course, the Dynamite totals do not include people who are watching on Max as part of the simulcast. As compared to the same week in 2024, the show's overall viewership was down 21.7%, while its 18-49 rating was down 29.6%. In terms of the quarter-hour ratings, these come courtesy of WrestleNomics, so shout out to them and be sure to subscribe to their Patreon service. As you can see, it follows the similar trend to what we see most weeks when it comes to Dynamite, a strong lead-in and a steady progression when it comes to a decline in viewership and key demo throughout the show. However, there was a little bit of an uptick when it came to the 9 o'clock hour, which featured AR Fox versus Swerve Strickland and other segments. Speaking of ratings, we also have the ratings for NXT on the CW. It's been a memorable month of viewership for WWE NXT, mostly because of their January 7th episode involving The Rock. That show went through a roller coaster of ratings data, at one point seemingly having drawn nearly 1 million viewers, before later coming out the show was in the high 700,000s. Still, the number was among the strongest NXT had done in the past year, and it was difficult to believe that an NXT episode not featuring The Rock could top those numbers. And yet, that's exactly what Tuesday's episode seems to have done. Programming Insider reports that NXT drew 812,000 total viewers and a 0.22 in the coveted 18-49. There is still some wiggle room for error, as WrestleNomics noted. They themselves hadn't confirmed the number. Should these figures hold true, it would mean NXT was up from last week, with total viewership rising 4% from 779,000, while the 18-49 was up a whopping 29% from a 0.17. Perhaps most impressively, the numbers were higher in both categories than The Rock's episode, which ultimately drew 798,000 total viewers and a 0.21 in the 18-49. As such, it would make this week's NXT the highest rated episode since the October 8th episode, which featured Randy Orton and was the second show to air on the CW following their debut on October 1st. Now, some big news coming out of TNA last night. Of course, it was a live episode of TNA Impact on Access TV. In 2024, Mustafa Ali worked in TNA Wrestling on a per-appearance deal that wrapped up with the August 1st episode of TNA Impact. Still, the company reportedly left the door open for him to return sometime in the future. As revealed on this week's special live episode of Impact, that future is right now. Following a promo in which Mike Santana noted his TNA World Championship aspirations, Ali made a surprise return to TNA television. In doing so, he announced that he had officially signed with TNA with an aim to claim the world title as well. Ali additionally stated there is still certain work that needs to be done in the company. Quote, TNA needs great leadership and I am that great leader, he said. I want to give all of you something truly to believe in. So ladies and gentlemen, I am launching a campaign in which I will become the next World Heavyweight Champion. In his last in-ring TNA appearance, Ali suffered a loss to Nick Nemeth, who held the TNA World Championship at the time. Less than 2 weeks before that, he sustained another notable loss at TNA Slammiversary. On this occasion, Ali dropped the TNA X Division Championship to Speedball Mike Bailey after referee Earl Hebner had refused to repeat the infamous Montreal Screwjob. Ali reigned as the X Division champion for 148 days. As of now, there is no word on the length of his new agreement with TNA. Now, we also saw quite a few returns and significant moments happen last night on TNA Impact on this special live episode on Access TV, including Matt Cardona, who made his return to TNA Wrestling on the January 23rd episode of TNA Impact Live. Cardona was announced as the first challenger for Joe Hendry as TNA World Heavyweight Champion. He received his title match in the main event of the show. Hendry said he would be willing to defend his TNA World title anytime against anyone from any promotion. Cardona had not wrestled in TNA since TNA Bound for Glory when he lost to PCO in a Monsters Ball match. Of course, Hendry won the TNA World Championship in the main event of TNA Genesis, defeating Nick Nemeth. Now, as mentioned, they faced off in the main event, but it also featured yet another appearance from John Layfield in TNA. JBL, John Layfield, once again made his presence felt at TNA Impact Live on January 23rd. Layfield got involved in the main event between Joe Hendry and Matt Cardona and clotheslined Matt Cardona as he tried to use the TNA World title as a weapon. JBL and Hendry then faced off before Layfield left the ringside area. Hendry would go on to win the match and successfully defend his TNA World Heavyweight Championship, putting Cardona away with the standing ovation. This was Hendry's first successful title defense. Of course, Layfield appeared at TNA Genesis, getting involved in the main event between Hendry and Nick Nemeth. Layfield laid out Frankie Kazarian and Ryan Nemeth in the bout. He's made several appearances in TNA doing just that, laying people out where they clothesline from hell. Now, many people were wondering just who was behind the mystery 23 vignettes in TNA, and now we have the answer. Steph DeLander returned to TNA Wrestling, and Mance Warner joined TNA Wrestling at TNA Impact Live on January 23rd. DeLander revealed she was the person behind the 23 vignettes that have been airing since December. DeLander said she was the TNA Digital Media Champion, taking the title from PCO in the divorce. She then introduced her boyfriend, Mance Warner, who attacked Sami Callihan. The 23 teasers began on the December 5th episode of TNA Impact. PCO, of course, made headlines over the weekend when he smashed the TNA Digital Media Championship at the People vs. GCW in an unscripted and unplanned segment that reportedly had TNA livid. He's not expected back in TNA Wrestling. Now, speaking of possible futures in TNA, many people have been wondering just what's going on with Josh Alexander. Well, at TNA Genesis, Josh Alexander announced that he would be quitting TNA Wrestling. Alexander's announcement came after he quit in an I Quit match against Mike Santana. On the January 23rd episode of TNA Impact Live, Alexander reiterated that he would be quitting TNA. He said there were more good times than bad, and his time in TNA was a dream come true, but he needed to walk away. He praised Sinner and Saint, saying he saw something in them, and the Motor City Machine Gun saw something in them too. Sinner and Saint said Alexander couldn't quit before attacking him. Eric Young made the save and challenged Sinner and Saint to a tag team match for next Thursday's episode of TNA Impact. Of course, it's expected that Alexander is finishing up with the company. Now, we know as part of this multi-year agreement between WWE and TNA that NXT superstars will be crossing the line, and Cora Jade was back in the Impact Zone, making an appearance on TNA Impact Live on January 23rd. Jade came to the ring during a 6 knockouts tag team match, pitting Masa Slamovich and Spitfire against Rosemary and the House of Elegance. Jade had a photo of the TNA Knockouts champion with a red X over her. The distraction cost Masha's team the match. Jade previously confronted Masha Slamovich at TNA Genesis and could be potentially building to a match in the future. Speaking of the Knockouts division, Tessa Blanchard cut a promo on Impact, and Tully Blanchard was in attendance for the show. Blanchard was shown in the audience as his daughter Tessa Blanchard cut a promo. Tessa said that her grandfather ran the first wrestling show in San Antonio, buried the town for not having a sports team, and said she was always destined for greatness. She claimed to be better than Steve Austin, the Von Erichs, and the Funks in her promo. Of course, she defeated Jordynne Grace at TNA Genesis in what many are expecting to be Grace's last match for TNA Wrestling. Now, in addition to the likes of Cora Jade, we saw a lot of NXT influence on the show last night. Nathan Frazer and Axiom successfully defended their NXT Tag Team Championships against the Rascals at TNA Impact Live on January 23rd. Wesley, Tariq Igwe, and Tyson DuPont interfered. The Rascals seemingly had the bout won after a super blockbuster, but Lee distracted the referee. Then the tag team attacked the Rascals, leading to Axiom hitting the Spanish Fly and Frazer hitting the Phoenix Splash on Trey. NXT TNA liaison Ariana Grace was on commentary for the match too. This was the first time a WWE NXT Championship was defended on TNA television. Now, because of this, we've got several matches announced for next week's episode of TNA Impact. The card for the January 30th, 2025 episode of TNA Impact has begun to take shape. It was announced during the January 23rd episode of TNA Impact Live that Wesley of NXT will face Ace Austin of TNA Wrestling, as the working relationship between the two companies is in full swing. Also, the returning Mustafa Ali will be in action for the first time in 2025. Ali recently announced that he had signed with TNA Wrestling. Rounding out the card, Nick Nemeth will speak for the first time since losing the TNA World Heavyweight Championship at TNA Genesis. This is all in addition to the previously announced match pitting Josh Alexander and Eric Young against Alexander's former proteges Travis Williams and Judas Icarus. Now, a bit of an update here when it comes to Alexa Bliss and her cancelled plans for a WWE televised return. After a 2-year absence, Alexa Bliss was reportedly slated to return to WWE television on the January 13th episode of Monday Night Raw, which emanated from San Jose, California. That plan has since been scrapped due to contract issues. According to PW Insider, representatives for Bliss reached out to WWE executives informing them of her wish to open discussions about lining up a new contract before her official return. The former Raw Women's Champion was reportedly looking for a brand new deal with more money and perks. WWE, however, was keen on keeping her existing deal in place, which had been extended because of her absence. When the two sides still couldn't reach an agreement, WWE put creative plans for Bliss's return on hold. Bliss's return reportedly called for her to join the storyline surrounding the Wyatt Six stable, led by Uncle Howdy. Bliss, of course, has history with Uncle Howdy, as she was seemingly hypnotized by Howdy in the later months of 2022 and early 2023. Upon her resurgence, the outlet adds that Bliss was also set to rejoin the Raw brand as a regular fixture. With Bliss's return now being put on ice, the Wyatt Six have since been moved to SmackDown, with their next moves currently unclear. Now, speaking of the women's division in WWE, we could be about to see a Hall of Famer return. Nikki Bella made her first public appearance since her split from ex-husband and American professional dancer Artem Chingfenstev at the Raw premiere on Netflix earlier this month. Bella's surprise arrival sparked speculation the two-time Divas champion could be considering lacing up her boots once again. And on Thursday, WrestleVotes posted an update on her return status, saying, quote, "We're told significant discussions have taken place regarding a Nikki Bella return to action, with the strong expectation from multiple WWE sources that it will happen sooner rather than later." The last time Bella stepped inside a WWE ring was at the 2022 Women's Royal Rumble, but she hasn't participated in singles action since 2018, wrestling Ronda Rousey for the Raw Women's Championship at Evolution. In 2023, Bella voiced her frustrations with WWE, explaining alongside her sister Brie that they no longer saw eye to eye with the company. It seems like Bella's anger towards WWE has dissipated, especially now that Nikki could be slated for a return in the near future. As the Royal Rumble approaches on February 1st, it's possible Bella could be featured at the event and wrestle for the company for the first time in 3 years. Now, there had been a lot of speculation and people wondering just what was going on with Jesse Ventura for this weekend's Saturday night's main event. Following last month's show in Uniondale, WWE will be hosting another iteration of Saturday night's main event on January 25th, this time from the Frostbank Center in San Antonio, Texas. So far, WWE Saturday night's main event is stacked with 4 matches, along with a contract signing moderated by WWE Hall of Famer and San Antonio's own Shawn Michaels. As revealed on X, Michaels won't be the only WWE Hall of Famer in attendance. Quote, "So very excited for Saturday night's main event this weekend in San Antonio," wrote Jesse the Body Ventura. The Body returns to Texas this Saturday night. At the December 14th edition of WWE Saturday Night's main event, Ventura appeared in the opening segment, running down the respective card alongside broadcaster Joe Tessitore. He later resurfaced in the commentary booth alongside Michael Cole and Pat McAfee, sporting a jacket he claimed to be made from skin from Jake the Snake Roberts' python named Damien. Together, Cole, McAfee, and Ventura called the main event match between undisputed WWE champion Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens, in which Rhodes emerged victorious. As of now, there was no word or if whether Ventura is going to return to the commentary desk or not for the upcoming Saturday Night's main event or take on another role. Aside from Ventura's return, this weekend's special WWE event will also feature the aforementioned contract signing between Rhodes and Owens, who are slated for a rematch at the 2025 Royal Rumble. Elsewhere, Gunther will defend the World Heavyweight Championship against Jey Uso, while Intercontinental Champion Bron Breakker puts his title on the line against Sheamus. Additionally, Nia Jax will challenge Rhea Ripley for the WWE Women's World Championship, and Braun Strowman will face off against Jacob Fatu. Ventura's status had been up in the air, as it has also been advertised that rival and longtime nemesis WWE Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan will be in attendance for the show. Now, a bit of an update here when it comes to the TNA wrestling status of Crazy Steve. Plenty happened while the cameras were rolling for AEW Dynamite this week, from moonsaults from very high places to the Hurt Syndicate winning the AEW World Tag Team Championships. But another interesting thing happened during the dark match prior to the show, when longtime TNA star and former digital media champion Crazy Steve made an appearance, taking on Serpentico. Though Steve hadn't appeared in TNA since last April, his AEW appearance naturally led to those wondering what this meant for his TNA status, especially since he remains on the promotion's website. That likely won't be the case much longer. Fightful Select is reporting that Steve and TNA parted ways sometime in 2024 and that the promotion has no plans to bring him back. Even still, the split was described as amicable, and those within TNA pointed out that Steve was well liked within the promotion. Given that TNA contract talent isn't allowed to work AEW shows, this would make Steve a free agent and clear for him to sign with AEW. However, it's unclear if the promotion is looking at bringing him in or if he was just used as a one-off due to being at the arena. The results would suggest the latter, as Steve was defeated by Serpentico, who has a very rare victory, doesn't win many matches in AEW. And finally, a big title match announced for AEW Collision Homecoming. Konosuke Takeshita and Don Callis have issued a challenge. Konosuke Takeshita and Don Callis appeared on the January 23rd episode of Ring of Honor on Honor Club in a backstage vignette to challenge Katsuyori Shibata to meet Takeshita in the ring at Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida at AEW Collision Homecoming. Takeshita said he wanted to prove that he's the best Japanese talent in AEW. The match was later made official for AEW Collision Homecoming. But there you go, guys, the latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.